Hi, my name is Daniel Huss with Percussion How To. In today's video, we're going to go over bass drum tuning, specifically three segments. One, we're going to talk about how to properly take the drum up to pitch so that you don't damage it, and why. We're also going to discuss the best way to get both sides of the head to match. And last, we're going to talk about intervals between the drums themselves. Stay tuned. So by now, you've put on your new bass drum head, perhaps after doing some additional muffling on that bass drum, or maybe you just needed to change some heads. So your head is loose. So at this point, you're most likely finger tight on each one of your lugs. By now, you've also had your performer wear that individual drum, and you've adjusted the head to make sure that this logo is parallel to the ground. If you've done all these steps, you're ready to tune the bass drum itself. I like to start at the first bass drum, number one bass drum, typically because it is the hardest to get up to pitch, and it might have an upper pitch limit, and then work my way down. So to bring the bass drum up to pitch, we use a star pattern. The reason that we do this is because we want to make sure that we're applying tension equally across the two sides of the drum. So we're going to go ahead and start on one side of the drum. I'm going to go ahead and give this lug a full turn. Then you'll see that I'm going to go all the way across to the opposite lug, give this a full turn. Again, this is because this is equalizing tension across the drum so that one side doesn't get too much tension and ultimately pull the head. I'm going to go around the drum in a similar fashion, tightening one lug, then tightening the lug that's exactly across from it. Until I've gone all the way around the drum. That's the star pattern. Again, we use this just to make sure that we're applying tension equally around the drum and not too much to one side too soon. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this drum up to tune, up to pitch, and we'll go over how to match heads as soon as I get back. Now that I've gotten my drum up to a reasonable pitch level, there's a couple things I need to take into consideration. One, I want to make sure, doubly sure, that each one of these rods has the same amount of tension as the last. So to do that, I'm going to go around the drum in a circle and just make sure that the pitch underneath each one of these lugs is exactly the same, and make adjustments as I need to. Right off the bat, I can instantly tell that this one is already lower than this one, so I'm going to go ahead and take this lug up just a little bit until it matches the pitch when I strike underneath this lug. I started out bringing up the drums by giving each one of these lugs a full turn, but now that the drum is closer to pitch, I'm only going to give them each maybe a half turn or a quarter turn in order to reduce the stress on the head, because there's a lot of tension taking place right now. Quarter turn should about do that. Okay, I'm satisfied with the way that those sound. So I'm going to go around the drum in a similar fashion. Very good. All of those lugs feel like they're very, very close in pitch. At this point, I'm satisfied that I can take the drum even higher and even begin to try to match the heads without any unusual tension going on in the drum. So at this point, again, I'm going to utilize that star pattern as I try to match the heads and bring the drum higher up in pitch, giving only maybe a quarter turn each because it's already very, very tense. There's a lot of tension on that head. So I'm going to take this up just a little bit more. Okay, and now I'm going to try and make it match the head across from it. When I do this, I always use the same mallet, and I like to keep the same ear to the head. as opposed to trying to tune the drum from standing right here. I find this to be a better listening position. Also, using the same mallet, you could be trying to match heads forever, but you might just find that the mallets have different pitches themselves. So I like to use the same mallet. Okay, right off the bat, I can tell that this side, the side farthest away from you, is much higher than the side closest to you already. If you're having trouble, though, distinguishing between the two pitches, there's a couple different techniques to try and reduce some of those overtones to get a better idea of actually what that pitch is, particularly as the heads get closer to matching. The first one that I like to use is just giving a little bit of a buzz. That really highlights the pitch. The second one that I like to use, especially as we get super close into matching the heads, is just to give it a little bit muffle. By muffling it with one hand, you're reducing those overtones and you're getting to that core pitch. So I'm going to go ahead and take this head up the rest of the way so that it matches this other side. Now that I have both sides of my head matching and to the point where I want them, let's go ahead and talk about intervals. Now this drum is about as high as I want to take it, and as I mentioned earlier, I like to tune down the drums just because this is about as high as this drum is going to get. Makes it a little bit easier. That way, if I have one drum down the line that's a little bit too high, I don't have to worry about trying to take this back up. So I like to use an interval of a fourth between my drums. However, between 1 and 2, a third is also acceptable. To measure a fourth, I use an old musician's trick to get that interval. I just kind of sing the wedding song, Here Comes the Bride. So just to give it a little try here. So I'm actually listening for that fourth right now, just kind of earing it to hear if it sounds like Here Comes the Bride. That's actually remarkably close, so I'm fairly happy with that interval as a fourth. Similarly, I would go down the line just to make sure that they all have that same interval. For Percussion How To, I am Daniel Huss. Hope you enjoyed our video and found it useful. Look for more videos coming in other tips and tricks very soon.